Networking and marketing made simple is for you, the business owner that has a product, service, or message that you truly believe in. My name is Scott Aaron, and each week we'll take a behind-the-scenes look at real-world networking and marketing tactics while leveraging LinkedIn to get what you have in front of many more people. Thanks for spending time with me, and let's get started. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Networking and Marketing Made Simple. Super excited for today's episode for two reasons. Number one, we got another interview coming at you, and I have gotten such great feedback from all of you in all of the people that I've been interviewing because, my goal of this podcast is to expose all of you to people that you may have not heard of, but obviously you will now that they've been on this podcast. And number two, I love talking about book writing. I love talking about, publishing books and the up leveling that one can have going through that process of writing and publishing a book. And obviously some people like to self-publish, like myself and my wife, Nancy, but other people want that white glove treatment. They want that all done for you, step-by-step process where you work directly with someone. And we're going to talk about all that and more in today's episode. So Nancy Erickson, welcome to today's episode.
Thank you so much, Scott. I'm laughing because you were on my show last week and it was Nancy. It's like
a lot of Nancys.
Your wife, is it your mother-in-law also, Nancy?
My wife, my mom, and my mother-in-law
your mother.
are all Nancy.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm going to be one of those Nancys who doesn't tell you what to do. How's that?
Actually, the only one that tells me what to do was my mother. So
okay.
Again, that's their job.
That habit. They can't seem to let go of that with their kids.
Yeah, so. That's okay. So let's dive right in. So how I always like to start this is if you can rewind the tape of your business journey and press stop at a particular point where you feel you experienced that impactful moment or that catalytic moment for you that really kind of opened up the doors to everything that you're doing today and into the future. What was that moment for you?
Well, it's very clear to me. It was like my career that spans 30 years. My original career was in high tech, and I worked for IBM Corporation and Oracle. And the moment that things changed, and I was kind of good at it, but I didn't like it at all. Sometimes you can make a lot of money and get stuck in the thing that you just aren't meant to do. And so that was kind of my case. But my dad was diagnosed with a terminal brain tumor. And so we knew that he would only have 7 months to live. And so I quit everything. And my folks lived in Florida. I'm in St. Louis. And for those 7 months, I was going back and forth and helping, take care of my dad, support my mom. And especially after my dad passed away, to help my mom out, with that transition and stuff. So when I came back home from all of that 7 months of drama, and it was just wrenching, I was sitting here, I was like, oh, now what am I going to do? I quit my job. And I was at a point where I had kids really young and they were out of college. Okay. So they'd just gotten out of college. So all of my financial hard, that stuff that is on your back all the time wasn't there. And I thought, I can do anything I want to do now. And I always wanted to be a writer. And so I started fiddling around and looking at websites thinking, maybe I'll brush up on my writing. Anyway, what I ended up doing, I ended up going back to school to get a master's degree, a master's of fine arts in writing. And during that time, I was extremely drawn to nonfiction. And so when I graduated, I started Stonebrook Publishing, which is a nonfiction publishing house. And at the same time, they asked me to join the faculty to teach at that school where I graduated. That's what happens when you're an older student, like, oh, you can be a teacher. So, I started Stonebrook Publishing, and the rest is history, I suppose. That's not really true because it's always a climb, to start a business.
So when you started, obviously, your publishing house, what do you feel was the biggest challenge that you faced there's known challenges that we all face as entrepreneurs and business owners, but what was an unknown challenge that you faced that you weren't necessarily prepared for?
Well, just learning the industry, publishing is a very old industry. I have no idea why I thought I could start a publishing house. I just I wanted to, so I was going to. And so there's a lot of conventions in publishing that are really important. That has to do with the manufacturing and marketing of books. And so I had a big learning curve. And that was the bigger challenge. I wasn't faced with the need to raise capital like a lot of businesses are, because I was my product, right? So, and one of the things that came to me while, we wanted to publish nonfiction works that would either save lives, change lives, or transform society. And I was getting a lot of manuscripts that contained a little seed like that, but they were so poorly written, we couldn't do anything with them. So I kind of stepped back from publishing for a year, and I wrote this step by step process so that people who aren't writers could become authors. And we teach them how to write what we call compelling creative nonfiction. And it has worked so well. Hundreds of authors have been through this and have really developed a marketable product. And there's a big difference. There's a lot of junk out there, I mean, a lot, you can kind of just upload anything, but there's some important steps that you might not want to skip. So anyway, we help people now that come to us just with their idea, and we take them all the way through the writing and publishing process.
So when people think about the aspect of self-publishing
Mhm.
versus going through a publishing house such as yours,
Mhm.
is there a benefit or a reason why some people may venture down that self-publishing route? Because, again, there are people that go through publishing houses that are wildly successful doing it
Right.
that way. And then equally, there's people
Mhm.
that have self-published their books and have also been wildly successful. So,
I don't know if it's equal, but you're right though. There are those options and stuff. But well, you might be better answering that question than me, because what I see is the reasons why people want to go with a professional publisher. I think I'll tell you what, the largest genre in books is romance. And so a lot of romance writers just churn and churn and churn and churn out romance books. So
my aunt did that. She's
yeah.
yeah.
And so they should self-publish for sure, because I mean the covers don't have to be like only a guy with his shirt off or something like that. I mean, it's like the covers aren't necessarily a lot of heavy design involved in them and stuff, but that kind of book would, go well. And you've self-published, so I mean you obviously know what the advantages are to you.
Yeah, my aunt, she actually went through a publishing house. I think she got a 3-book deal.
Yeah.
But I think for me, it was kind of that experience because I did work the first book that I wrote. I hired a book writing coach
Mm.
to kind of help me with the process. And I think for me, it was a different journey because I had created a digital course
Right.
that gave me the framework of how to then convert that into a written form book. So
Oh, sure.
I
Yeah.
I had a much different journey than a lot of people because
Yeah,
I had.
you had a structure and a material, body of material to work with. Yeah.
So for the person that's listening to this that has always wanted to write a book but has kind of been weighing their options because there's a lot of people that talk about self-publishing versus a publishing house, how does one know that it's a better route for them to go with a publishing house versus trying to do it on their own?
Well, I think it has to do with a couple of things. Number one, with what their focus is, I guess I would say, and how much they want to learn on their own. Okay. So I really work with high net worth individuals and CEOs and celebrities and influencers and all. They don't want to learn something, another industry, and I don't blame them. So they love the fact that we give them a really white glove service. And by that, I mean extreme hand holding and taking them through the entire process, which is long, you know. I mean, it's not, and some of them come to me and they're like, oh, I want a ghostwriter. I'm like, I got to tell you, what you think a ghostwriter is and what it really is are probably vastly different, because you think, I want a ghostwriter because I want to do it faster. You have to spend so much time with a ghostwriter, and your book is only going to be as good and as deep as the questions they ask you when they interview you. And there's nothing like working with someone like us, who we pull that story out of you and all the deep and the layers of your story. You know, I've read a lot of ghostwritten books that were about celebrities or something like that. And I've never read one that I didn't think was really flat, didn't explore the person very well. And so we work with, you know, people who are, you know, industry leaders and such. And so we take them through a process where we really, the first thing we do is we help them crystallize their message into a purpose statement that is one sentence. And it's like, I'm going to do this particular thing for this specific audience. And then we work with them to map out in a mind map for each chapter, every detail of their book, you know, every point they're going to make, every story they're going to tell, every object lesson, every example. It's all on these maps that we create in the beginning, so that when they sit down to write, they'll be in execution mode and such. So all of my clients, they want that kind of experience where I'm working just right like that. And I'm on them all the time. I mean, you got to say deadlines, you know, you got to get this done, and they're busy individuals, but then when it's finished, you know, there's some really important elements too that we, as a publishing house, we do for them. We have a proofreading department. So 3 different proofreaders read their work. We have a vast design department, and one group of our designers works on covers, and they get 3 or 4 original book cover concepts to choose from. And then we have the layout designers, and we've got, you know, editors, and, you know, just a really robust professional staff. And so my clients want to make sure that what they're putting out that matches the you know, the image that they have built for themselves. And most of them really want to either to share their vision, create a lasting legacy, and elevate their visibility so that they can have a greater impact in their world.
Now, credibility is everything, and this is
Yep.
something that my wife and I speak about all the time, that
Yep.
social proof, making sure that people really see and acknowledge the expertise that someone has. And
Mhm.
the way that my wife and I feel about when it comes to someone having their own book, it's one of the best forms of credibility out there, because not everyone has a written book. And Nancy and
That's
I,
right.
you know, we have a mastermind called Expert Authority, and what we always suggest to people is there's 3 things that you have to have, or you should have, to really up level your credibility: you know, a podcast, a book, and a signature program.
Yeah.
And I would say the thing that people struggle the most with is that book, because it's probably the juiciest.
Yep.
But just explain in greater detail, if you could, how important it is, when it comes to credibility, how much
Yeah.
a book can really heighten that credibility and create that lasting legacy
Yeah.
for someone.
Well, yeah, I'd like to talk about 2 things: credibility and integrity. Okay. So credibility, it depends on what kind of book it is, though, Scott, because there's this little wave or fad of the people writing one chapter and it goes into this anthology book. That's not going to do anything for you. And I see a lot of people doing these compilation anthologies where 30 or 40 people write a chapter, and it goes to Amazon bestseller, which we need to talk about that too, about that's not really worth anything. You know, it's kind of a game you play. But when you write a book, it should do 3 things for you. It should you increase your credibility, it should elevate your status, and it should help attract a following. But it's only going to do that if it's done well. everything has to be professional about your book. And people give me their books all the time. A lot of them are self-published, but I can tell a mile away a self-published book. If I open it up and it's a 14-point font, I'm like, you didn't do this, with anybody professional. And, if they, there's just a lot of conventions in publishing that I can tell. And some of them have never been proofread and there are errors in their book. So that is not going to increase your credibility. But what a book does for you that nothing else can do, it's like it shows that you have a message that you are intent on sharing with others, and so intent on it that you put it in written format so that you could broadcast your ideas, your vision out to others. Because the truth is, if you want a bigger audience, you need a bigger platform. You need to be able to connect with people who don't know you personally. And a book, a podcast, a program, those things all allow you to do that, but you have to make sure you do it well. And I want to say something about integrity. I hope that everybody's business is built on that as a foundation, on integrity. You don't lie, you don't cheat, you don't steal, you don't trick people, etc. But there's something in writing that has come up that has to do with AI that can really trash your credibility, and that's using AI to write your book. Now, as a publishing house, I know that the Library of Congress has come out with some new rules that they will not grant copyright protection to anything that was produced with AI. And what does that mean? It means if you had AI edit your book, it means if you had AI write your book or a paragraph or anything like that, don't do that. Don't do it. That will trash your credibility more than anything when you get exposed. And you will, because they're going to see it somewhere else, because it's public domain stuff. But I have in our contracts, with our authors, it's a tempting thing to say, write this chapter for me and stuff. And by the way, a lot of authors are suing OpenAI, which is the Chat GPT thing, because it's taken their copyright protected materials, and people can say, write me a 1,000-word short story in that sounds like John Grisham. That can happen. Don't do that. Don't do that with your book. The other thing that's really important when you write your book is that your voice comes through. You are the one speaking, and people who know you or even don't know you or have heard you on a podcast or something like that, when they read their book, they should think you, right? Because it sounds like you. And so there's a lot of things that we incorporate, but definitely having a book. A lot of my clients want to pivot to speaking on stages. And so you really can't do that if you don't have a book. And I'm talking about paid speaking engagements. And so the first thing they're often asked is, well, send me your book and we'll take a look, kind of thing. So it's definitely an effort that you go through, but it's an effort to put yourself forward and out there so people can find you.
Yeah, Nancy and I, when we wrote our last book together, there's actually software that you can use to make sure that it's not AI detected, meaning, you run it through and there's actually an AI score. It should be, under 3% AI generated. And we always tell people, AI is great, but it's a tool. It's not something that's going to do it for you. So you can get ideas and prompts, but you should be the one doing the work. And much to your point, KDP Publishing, which is, Amazon, they actually have an AI detection software that they use with every book that is uploaded. So part of the upload process now,
that's great.
It has to go through their AI software to pass the test. Unless if it doesn't, then it gets blocked, deleted, and never able to be published. So it's to your point, yeah, people are looking for that shortcut or that easy way to get their book out there.
It's cheating. It just, and my clients understand that because they've been in business, and the way to be successful is to do the thing that works every day, day in, day out, plod along. And, writing your book is kind of like that, because we start off with these maps and then you just write and you just execute. So there's no shortcuts to anything good. And in life, so we certainly want to help our clients to elevate their status so that they can be, and it's not for like a personal gratification or glorification. It's because they have some message inside them that really works.
Yeah.
And they want to share it with others.
Yeah. It's, AI is the people just need to be aware that it's not going to stop. It's going to keep going. And again, there'll be certain things that come out that will be very tempting for you, but easier is not always better. There are shortcuts that may be presented to you that may land you in a very precarious situation or point in your business. Shortening the learning curve is one thing. That's about self-education. But really, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So as we wind down, Nancy, there's a lot of publishing houses out there. It's a competitive market, just like anything else. If someone was to ask you what makes your publishing house different from others out there, what would you say is the biggest reason or thing that separates you from the competition?
Yeah, I can tell you exactly what it is. It's that we have this soup to nuts process. You start with your idea, we help you write the book, and we publish, market, distribute your book worldwide. Now, Stonebrook Publishing, we also publish other authors' nonfiction books as well. But the people who go with us with this white glove service, you have everything, and you actually don't have to learn anything. I mean, you will as a result of working through the process with us, but you don't have to figure out how to get an ISBN number. You don't have to figure out how to register your copyright with the Library of Congress, because our legal team does that for you. So it's for really busy professionals who have the desire to create an excellent book product with, I always say we do it right the first time. We take the time and we do it right the first time.
So for the audience that's listening to this, that is, intrigued and would like to learn more about you and your publishing house and how they can be helped. Number one, who's your target audience? Who's the best fit for your services? And number two, what's the best way for people to connect with you online?
Yeah, so our target audience is CEOs, high net worth individuals, philanthropists, business leaders. And you can find, probably the best place to connect with me is on LinkedIn. And so it's under Nancy L. Erickson. And and take a look at my profile. And at the top of that, there's a link where you can schedule a strategy session with me, which I know you are all about using every feature on LinkedIn to be able to get yourself connected with others. So I think LinkedIn is probably the best spot.
Awesome. So all that information, obviously, that Nancy just shared will be in the description of the episode, the show notes, and obviously the email that broadcasts out to promote this episode. So Nancy, final question before we sign off. What does success truly mean to you?
It means food in my refrigerator, family and friends to surround me, and just a little money in my pocket.
Awesome. Sometimes it's the little things in life that matter most. And
I want my dog.
Yeah, I can totally resonate with that. And just really appreciate the work that you're doing for the community that you're serving. There's a lot of people that have that important message inside of them, and they just don't know how to take that message and get it out there for the world to see. And obviously, you are leaving a footprint in helping those people do that. So just appreciate you and just grateful to have you on the show today.
Thanks, Scott.
So for anyone that's listening, again, we'd appreciate your support. Please subscribe, reach out to us on social. Let us know what you love most about the episode. Leave a rating and review. And again, any information that you would like to learn about Nancy, obviously will be in the show notes of this episode. So everyone, please enjoy the rest of your days. Love and gratitude. And I'll talk to you next time. Thank you so much for checking out today's episode. If you could, please support this podcast by hopping over to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or any place that you're listening to this. Leave us a rating and review. Let us know what you loved most and what you would like to hear more of. But also, if you would like to learn how to take your business to the next level, whether it's using LinkedIn or working directly with myself and Nancy in our intimate group coaching programs, you can head over to www.thetimetogrow.com or scottaaron.net to learn more. Thank you again for your support, love and gratitude, and I'll talk to you soon.